Something happened to Cadillac's design language that nobody saw coming. And once you understand what the brand is reportedly building for 2027, you will understand why longtime enthusiasts are calling it the most dramatic reinterpretation of the XLR nameplate in the company's history. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will see why this could be the car that redefines what a Cadillac Halo model is supposed to feel like. Welcome back to Premium Automotive Reviews, the channel built for people who want more than a spec sheet read aloud in a monotone voice. We dig into design language, engineering philosophy, and the story behind a vehicle before anyone else does. And today we are unpacking one of the most talked about revival projects in the industry, a next-generation take on the Cadillac XLR that industry watchers believe could arrive around 2027. Before we get into the details, I want you to know that what you're about to hear blends confirmed Cadillac design direction with realistic industry projection, because this nameplate has not been officially confirmed for production. What it represents, though, is exactly the kind of vehicle Cadillac would need to build if it wanted to reclaim territory it walked away from nearly 2 decades ago. And trust me, once we get into the styling details, the layered technology story, and the way this thing is expected to drive, you'll understand why so many people think Cadillac is finally ready to build something with real teeth again. Let's start with the silhouette, because that's where this reported revival separates itself from anything Cadillac has put on a stage in years. The original XLR was a roadster, elegant, low, almost architectural in the way it borrowed cues from the CN concept. This next-generation interpretation throws that formula out and replaces it with something far more aggressive, a long, low, fastback coupe stance that looks like it was sculpted by someone who studied both the brand's art and science heritage and the modern GT car world at the same time. The front fascia is dominated by a massive vertical grille structure finished in a deep mesh pattern, flanked by dagger-thin lighting elements that stretch almost the full height of the front clip. This isn't a subtle evolution of Cadillac's current lighting signature. It's a statement piece, the kind of front end that is designed to be recognized from 2 cars back on the highway at night. Deep functional hood vents sit just behind the leading edge, hinting at serious thermal management underneath. And the way the hood itself creases and folds around those vents suggests a level of aerodynamic intention that goes well beyond styling for styling's sake. Move along the flanks, and the story gets even more interesting. The greenhouse is tight and low, the roofline drops aggressively toward the rear, and the character line, running from the front fender all the way back to the taillight, looks less like a decoration and more like a functional air management feature, something that could be channeling turbulent air away from the door handles and mirrors to keep the cabin quiet at speed. Wide, muscular rear haunches flare out dramatically, giving the car a planted, almost predatory stance, the kind of proportion you'd expect from something wearing a much more exotic badge. Underneath those flared arches sit deep, multi-spoke forged wheels wrapped in low-profile performance rubber, with red-painted calipers peeking through that hint at serious, stopping power. Carbon fiber elements appear throughout the lower body, side skirts, front splitter, rear diffuser fins, all suggesting that weight savings and downforce were treated as priorities rather than afterthoughts during development. And then there's the rear end, which might be the most dramatic part of the entire design. A towering integrated wing sits atop the deck lid, not a subtle body-colored lip spoiler, but a genuine performance wing with real visual presence. The kind of element that tells you immediately this isn't meant to be a boulevard cruiser. Quad exhaust outlets are tucked into an aggressive diffuser structure finished in exposed carbon weave, and the taillights themselves carry forward Cadillac's vertical lighting DNA, but stretched, sharpened, turned into blades of light that wrap around the corners of the car. Even the badge placement feels deliberate. XLR lettering flanking the crest, a small detail that ties this future interpretation back to the nameplate's history, while making it clear this is not simply a rebadge of anything currently in Cadillac's lineup. Now, here's where I want to pause and ask you something. When was the last time an American luxury brand built something that looked this hungry? Not refined in the quiet, understated way we've come to expect from recent Cadillac products, but genuinely aggressive, almost confrontational in its design language. That contrast between the brand's traditionally composed image and this reported direction is exactly why so many people in the industry are paying close attention. And it's also exactly why we need to talk about what's happening on the inside. Because the cabin tells an even more surprising story. Step inside. At least according to the direction Cadillac has been signaling across its recent concept and production reveals, and the transformation continues. Deep, quilted leather in a rich oxblood tone covers nearly every surface, from the sports seats to the door panels to the center console, giving the cabin a warmth that feels more bespoke tailoring than mass production. Contrasting carbon fiber trim runs across the dashboard and center stack, catching light in a way that constantly reminds you this is meant to be a performance-oriented cabin, not just a luxury one. The steering wheel is flat-bottomed, wrapped in the same deep red leather, with integrated controls that feel purpose-built rather than borrowed from a parts bin. Behind it sits a fully digital instrument cluster, sharp, configurable. Likely built on the same underlying digital architecture Cadillac has been rolling out across its recent lineup, capable of shifting its entire display layout depending on drive mode. The center stack is dominated by a large vertically oriented touchscreen, seamlessly integrated into the dash rather than looking like it was bolted on as an afterthought. And it's reasonable to expect this system would run on Cadillac's evolving digital ecosystem, the kind that increasingly leans on AI-powered voice assistants, predictive navigation, and deep smartphone integration. Given the direction the rest of the industry is heading, it's likely this cabin would support natural language commands sophisticated enough to handle complex requests without forcing you to dig through menus, along with over-the-air update capability. That means the car you buy on day one keeps evolving over time, rather than becoming static the moment you drive it off the lot. Ambient lighting is expected to thread through the door panels and lower dash, subtly shifting tone depending on drive mode, calm and warm in comfort settings, sharper and more energetic when you switch into a performance-oriented mode. A rotary control dial and a set of tactile switches sit low on the center console, giving drivers a way to make quick adjustments without taking their eyes off the road, a deliberate nod to the idea that not everything should live inside a touchscreen. Premium audio branding is visible on the door speaker grills, suggesting a partnership with a recognized high-end audio brand. Something increasingly common across Cadillac's upper trim vehicles, and a detail that would make sense given how the rest of this cabin is positioned. Every touch point, from the shifter to the door, pulls to the way the seats are stitched. Feels engineered to make you forget you're sitting in something built primarily as a technology showcase. This is a cabin that wants to feel special the moment you close the door, not just competent. So what's actually expected to be under that dramatic hood? This is where we have to be careful, because Cadillac has not confirmed a powertrain lineup for a project like this, but based on where the brand's performance division has been heading, and the design cues visible in this styling direction, industry estimates suggest a twin-path approach is likely. On one end, a high-output twin-turbocharged engine, potentially drawing from Cadillac's Blackwing performance heritage, engineered to deliver serious horsepower numbers well north of 500, paired with a quick shifting automatic transmission and rear or all-wheel drive architecture depending on trim. On the other end, given how aggressively the entire industry is shifting toward electrification, it's entirely plausible. Cadillac would offer an electrified variant, potentially a plug-in hybrid system, pairing a combustion engine with electric motors for both efficiency gains and instant torque delivery, or even a fully electric configuration built on the brand's existing Ultium platform, which has already proven capable of supporting genuinely quick, genuinely capable performance vehicles elsewhere in Cadillac's lineup. Suspension is expected to lean heavily on adaptive damping technology, likely a magnetic ride control system similar to what Cadillac has refined over multiple generations, constantly reading the road and adjusting damping force in fractions of a second to balance comfort and control. Given the wide stance and aggressive wheel and tire package visible in the design, a performance-oriented chassis tune feels like the obvious direction, something engineered to deliver sharp, confidence-inspiring handling without completely sacrificing the ride comfort that luxury buyers still expect. Braking hardware appears substantial based on the visible caliper and rotor sizing, suggesting large diameter discs paired with multi-piston calipers, the kind of setup you'd want if you're serious about repeated, hard stops rather than just looking fast in a parking lot. Safety and driver assistance technology is likely to be comprehensive, building on systems Cadillac has already proven out across its lineup. Expect adaptive cruise control capable of maintaining safe following distances in traffic, lane keeping assistance that gently corrects drift without feeling intrusive, automatic emergency braking tuned to react faster than human reflexes allow, and a suite of camera and sensor-based monitoring that watches blind spots, cross traffic, and following distance simultaneously. Given Cadillac's continued investment in its hands-free highway driving technology, it's reasonable to expect this system, or an evolved version of it, to be available here as well, allowing genuinely hands-free driving on mapped highway routes under the right conditions. That kind of technology doesn't just feel futuristic, it fundamentally changes how relaxed a long highway drive can feel, turning hours of monotonous driving into something closer to supervised travel. Now let's talk about who this car is actually for, because a vehicle this dramatic needs to justify itself beyond just looking incredible in a parking lot. Despite the aggressive proportions, the coupe body style is expected to retain a usable rear cargo area, likely through a hatch or trunk configuration, generous enough for a weekend getaway or a serious grocery run. Something that separates this from purpose-built two-seat exotics that sacrifice everything for lap times. The cabin, while performance-focused, still carries the comfort and material quality Cadillac buyers expect, meaning long highway stretches shouldn't feel punishing the way they might in a stripped-out sports car. This positions the vehicle for a very specific kind of buyer, someone who wants the drama and presence of a genuine performance coupe, but refuses to give up daily usability. Someone who wants cutting-edge technology without needing a computer science degree to operate it. And someone who wants to feel like they're driving something that looks toward the future, rather than something that's simply competent in the present. And that's really the heart of why this reported project has generated so much conversation. Cadillac spent years being associated with comfortable, quiet, conservative luxury, the kind of brand your grandfather might have driven. This next-generation XLR direction feels like a direct rejection of that reputation. A statement that the brand is willing to build something loud, something technologically ambitious, something that doesn't apologize for wanting attention. Every angle of that body, every detail inside that cabin, every rumored piece of the powertrain puzzle points toward a company trying to prove it can build genuinely exciting vehicles again, not just comfortable ones. Think about how far this concept has traveled from where the original XLR started. That car was refined, elegant, almost reserved in how it presented performance. This reported successor throws restraint out the window entirely, replacing it with wide fenders, a towering wing, quad exhaust tips, and a cabin that feels more like a cockpit than a lounge. If Cadillac genuinely follows through on a direction like this, it wouldn't just be reviving a nameplate, it would be redefining what that nameplate is allowed to mean. And that's a much bigger story than a single new model, because it signals where the entire brand might be heading over the next several years. So where does that leave us? A car that doesn't exist yet in official form, built around a design language and technology direction that feels entirely plausible, given everything Cadillac has been signaling recently, wrapped in a nameplate with real emotional history behind it. Whether the final production version looks exactly like what we've described here remains to be seen, and industry timelines for a project like this are still fluid, but the direction feels unmistakable. Cadillac wants back into the conversation, and if this is even close to the vehicle they're building, that conversation is about to get a lot louder. If this kind of deep dive into where the automotive industry is heading is something you enjoy, consider sticking around, because we've got plenty more of these breakdowns coming, and there are a few details about this project we're continuing to track that might reshape how we understand where Cadillac is headed next. Let us know what you think this car should be called if it does arrive, and whether you think Cadillac can actually pull off a design this bold. Until next time, this has been Premium Automotive Reviews. This video is based on current automotive industry insights Publicly available information, market trends, design analysis, and reliable reports available at the time of writing. The vehicle discussed has not been officially confirmed by Cadillac, and all specifications, features, pricing, performance figures, production plans, and launch timelines described here are speculative interpretations subject to change unless and until officially confirmed by the manufacturer.